Hello friends, let's continue to follow what's happening in Polish society. In this video, we have a review of 4 shocking stories, and we'll analyze these incidents through the lens of social analysis. We'll discuss systemic problems in the work of law enforcement agencies, manipulations on social media, and we'll look at the risks of extreme leisure activities and the dark side of the tourism industry. In short, a detailed analysis of the facts and their causes in our material. Watch it till the end, we'll draw an interesting conclusion, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Friends, huge thanks to everyone who doesn't hold back. These simple actions take just 2 seconds. Thank you for your support. Now, let's get down to business. The first tragedy comes from Wroclaw. There is information from the prosecutor's office. On the night of July 24th to 25th, a 19-year-old girl, her name was Valentina. Sadly, she died as a result of falling from the 4th floor. At the prosecutor's request, the court sent the apartment owner Norbert into custody for 3 months. He is 38 years old. A whole range of charges has been brought against him. Illegal deprivation of liberty of the deceased, committing violence and causing bodily harm to another woman, as well as assaulting a paramedic. Well, friends, let's look at the social context of what's happening. The neighbors openly confirm that the suspect has been destabilizing the situation in the building for years. Scandals, broken windows, regular calls to the police. The question arises, you might ask, did the residents report it at all? All of them? Yes, my friends, they did report it. Did the preventive mechanisms of the law enforcement system work? No, they did not. The system only worked after the fact, when the person had already committed a serious crime and a girl had died. This is a classic example of the degradation of local law enforcement institutions when the prevention of offenses is replaced by a formal response to disasters that have already happened. Yes, the girl, as I already said, was young, 18 years old, right? Her name was Valentina. And so what happened next? That's an interesting point. We have, well, xenophobic hysteria and armchair analysis. How could we do without that? The most interesting things unfold not in the investigation materials, but in the comments. I made the mistake of going there on Facebook. As soon as the news hit the social media groups, the usual nationalist speculation machine immediately kicked into gear. And the local residents, without waiting for any information or investigation results, immediately determined the ethnic background of those involved in the incident. And they seriously started arguing, who do you think Norbert is? Of course, he's a migrant from Ukraine, and the deceased Valentina is a local Polish woman. Well, friends, that's some interesting logic from armchair analysts, right? The name Norbert, by the way, is a classic Catholic name of German origin, which has been common in Poland for centuries, and the name Valentina is a traditionally East Slavic name. But when local patriots have a strong xenophobic mindset, any kind of linguistics, any kind of facts, oh Lord, let's just throw all that away, we don't need it. The main thing is to fit the tragedy into a ready-made political narrative. Ukrainians are to blame for everything. Norbert is Ukrainian. Friends, this is complete nonsense, as they'll point out. So what are we left with? The real problem is, I'm not trying to stir up panic. It's not just that a Pole killed a Ukrainian woman. No, the real problem here is the marginalization of certain elements. Everyday crime and the inability of local police services for some reason to protect citizens in everyday situations before a crime happens and before serious consequences occur. Furthermore, let's note, of course, the diversion of public attention from the systemic causes of crime toward ethnic discord. Instead of questioning the police about controlling repeat offenders, society is being pitted against itself along ethnic lines. It's a very convenient tool. Well, of course. Classic move. Let's blame migrants for everything else. Why bother dealing with the degradation of the urban environment and social services? In short, it's just a classic diversion of social conflict into interethnic hostility. But next, friends, we're moving on to the Tatras. There's some information from the Slovak Mountain Rescue Service. A tragedy has occurred. So this happened just 3 days ago in the area near the edge of Ježukova Turnia. Sorry, I'm just not a skier, and not a cross-country skier either. So maybe I got the name of this place in the Tatras a bit wrong. A 37-year-old experienced Polish mountaineer was climbing a popular route. As a result of a fall from a height, the man sustained fatal injuries. And the report about the incident came from his companion, who at that point no longer had direct contact with him. Well, by then, it had already happened. The Slovak Operations Center immediately mobilized everything possible. A rescue helicopter from Poprad was dispatched with a rescue doctor from the nearest shelter. An employee with a defibrillator headed out to meet them. Well, they began initial cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And despite all this, the coordination and the emergency arrival, of course, the resuscitation efforts did not yield any results. Yes. The doctor on the helicopter crew could only confirm the 37-year-old athlete's death. He was young and had so much life ahead. Let me put it this way. From a social perspective, I'm definitely interested in this tragedy. A person died in the Tatras. But mountaineering has long since gone far beyond mere practical necessity, and it has become a specific type of leisure activity in developed capitalist society. A person breaks out of their routine, out of city life, into an aggressive natural environment, where the key factor is the personal risk of pushing yourself beyond your limits, overcoming obstacles. Equipment. Well-tested routes and the presence of emergency services create the illusion of complete safety and control for the modern mountaineer. However, nature's underlying reality is objective. The physics of free fall in the mountains does not depend on the level of development of rescue technologies. Because, my God, even if you have aviation, defibrillators, all of that will be delivered in a second. But the time factor and the severity of the injuries remain decisive. In short, gravity has the final say. This is a tragic lesson where extreme passion collided with the harsh reality of the high mountains. Yes, because, well, friends, Slovakia's rescue infrastructure, the people who were nearby did everything possible, right? A high level of professionalism, mutual assistance, and so on. But the mountains do not forgive mistakes or random factors. Because everything comes down to seconds. And when you fall from a height of 200 meters, nothing can save you anymore. Neither the efforts of modern medicine nor technology. That's the harsh dialectic between man and nature. Next, friends, there's another piece of news that's more tragic than interesting, and it's not exactly ordinary. It happened on August 4th, just recently, at a popular island resort on the island of Mauritius. A light seaplane, for reasons that are still unknown, crashed and fell onto the reefs. As a result of the crash, a young Polish man, 25 years old, who was on board as a tourist, sustained injuries incompatible with life and died at the scene. The seaplane pilot, a local resident from the city of Beaubassin, sorry, I haven't been to Mauritius, so I might be mistaken. He suffered serious injuries and was quickly taken by rescuers to a private clinic. But right at the crash site, the Coast Guard personnel immediately began their work, cordoned off the area, and ensured the safety of the crash zone. But an official investigation has begun into what happened and how it came to this. And from the standpoint of social analysis, my friends, this episode, in my opinion, shows the flip side of modern industrialized tourism. While the leisure industry is actively selling premium exotic vacations to citizens from European countries, yes, that is seaplane flights over the reefs, scuba diving, parasailing, shark encounters. But the excursion business on remote islands promises vivid experiences, absolute safety, just pay the money and everything will be great. All of this is packaged in a glossy wrapper, beautiful photos, beautiful videos, and as you can see, people fall for it. But what is hidden behind the glossy facade? And there, small aircraft and attractions are run hard in the conditions of a tropical climate and salty sea environment. Well, of course, this places increased demands on maintenance. At least it should. But how is it actually done there? It's unclear because when selling services to tourists, operators shift the risks onto the local staff and onto what else? What else is left? So, we have Ahmed here, he'll be pressing the button for you, starting everything up, and we'll just hope that the equipment's reliability doesn't let us down. When there's a failure, whether from human error or equipment, the illusion of a safe resort paradise collapses. Yes, a tragic example, how the tourism business and commercial entertainment collide with the realities of small aircraft accidents. The investigation will reconstruct the seaplane crash on the reef, but the young lives of those Poles cannot be brought back. This is the flip side of the beautiful picture of global tourism. Yes, my friends. What else caught my attention? This is also a rather unusual case. The tragedy happened in the Czech Republic involving Poles, Friday night into Saturday on the D50 highway that's about, 20 kilometers from mountainous Brno. So what happened there? The first car collided with a wild boar, and it had to stop right on the roadway. The second car managed to stop behind it, but the third vehicle, at high speed, crashed into both of the stopped cars. As a result, only Polish citizens were injured. 2 women died at the scene despite all resuscitation attempts. A man and 2 children with serious injuries were evacuated to the hospital. Unfortunately, later the death toll rose to 3, and in fact the traffic was blocked. Friends, what can I say? This episode clearly demonstrates the vulnerability of even the most modern high-speed highways. Because, well, Mother Nature, there's no getting away from that. Wild animals getting onto a fenced highway is a completely unpredictable failure in the traffic safety system, and as you can see, it instantly creates an emergency situation in just a second. Right, especially since it happened at night at high speed. Even at 100 kilometers per hour, it caused a chain reaction, right? That means the driver simply doesn't have time to react when an obstacle suddenly appears. Even if the first and second cars manage to react, the overall flow dynamics make a chain of collisions almost inevitable. And here comes the tragic moment. A tragic example of how a random intervention by nature leads to catastrophic consequences for road users. Even consular services got involved. They are providing assistance to the families. But the tragedy once again reminds us, friends, of the fragility of human life in the face of a traffic accident. Well, and so we ended up with 4 stories, right? Well, let's probably move on to the conclusions, because in my opinion, look, please write in the comments what you think, whether it's fate or not. Well, right now I'm in a more pragmatic mood, yes, because usually I'm in a lyrical mood, but now it's more pragmatic. And the conclusion. When we face such a tragic chain of events, well, the easiest thing is to just shrug and say, well, I guess that's fate, cruel fate. But if we strip away some of this mystical haze from the point of view of science and common sense, well, it's not like fate is written in the heavens. That's what I think. And all those so-called acts of fate, they're just points where real physical and material factors intersected. A night highway, high speed, a wild animal, or a technical malfunction, these aren't the machinations of higher powers, but specific circumstances and the laws of physics. And when they intersect in a single second, they create what we are used to calling chance. People have often explained unknown or frightening things with magic or fate as it makes tragedy easier to accept. But in reality, the world is both simpler and more complicated at the same time, because it operates according to objective laws of nature, not blind fate. Well, that's just my opinion. You can share yours in the comments. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Shout out to all the movers, carpenters, cabinet makers, and truck drivers. To the entire working class. Let me know if I missed anyone and write the city you're watching from. That's all for now. See you next time.